Okay, first I say, all praises, Lord, and honor to Yahweh, Hashem, Shai, Bashar, Dash. The one says, Fasun Teacher, Mizra, from the truth, and I say, Shalom to the whole flag of Israel. Um, just going into Gemini, chatbot, right? Ask the question, how bad was it in Egypt for the Israelites? And gives a lot here, but I'm just going to jump through the main points. It says, based on biblical narrative, the book of Exodus, conditions for this, and really what brought this on was just reading Wisdom Psalm 17. No, but actually the question just popped in my head. Conditions for the Israelites in Egypt escalated from comfortable citizenship into a brutal multi-generational nightmare. And we talk about how America is Egypt 2.0. The scriptures mention that, but especially when you go into Revelation 11 and I think it's 8, because you have one single place that's referred to as Sodom and Egypt. And once again, Sodom and Egypt were two different places, but so what, and like something in the scriptures that the Lord will use, ancient terminology or things as, for lack of better words, like representatives for things that we have today. For example, America is not in the Bible, but America does display these various characteristics of these different places in the Bible. For example, America is also referred to as Tyrus, and I think it's like Ezekiel 30. It's in the 30s, I think. I think it's in 30s. But why? Because with America being likened unto Tyrus, because like what? Tyrus is a merchant city. America's a merchant city that sat on water. They had, and if I remember correctly, they were known for purple dyes, which is quite expensive. But you have America that's known for really importing, but all of these various high high price goods and mainly services now, because America's, they don't make anything, but they're known they're known as that place where it's it's expensive. It's a lot of expensive shit. The Golden City. It's also like in the Babylon. Because like when you think of Babylon, obviously you have confusion, but also like Babylon was likened into like that head of gold because of how wealthy the city was. You have a garden called the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, which is a beautiful fucking beautiful garden, for lack of better words. I was going to use the term vegetation, but I'm not sure if that was a correct word to use. But it's this beautiful city that embodies the spirit of all of these other different all these other different places. Sodom, self-explanatory. America is faggot central. Well, America is rainbow warrior central. Everybody knows that you have the freedom to do whatever you want, and a lot. I'm not gonna say most of these niggas. A lot of these niggas come here to be rainbow warriors. But Revelation 11 and 8. Their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. And you go into Ezekiel 38, goes to the dry bones, which is representative of our people spiritually being dead. And dry, because obviously bones, no skin. But going to that chapter, it goes into how our as our people come back closer and closer to the truth, they get skin put on them, and that's the form of the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Because the scriptures is a doctrine of life. Sirach 19:19. Knowledge of the commandments of the Lord is the doctrine of life. They do things that please him shall see the fruit of the tree of immortality. Being brought back to life spiritually, and our people are spiritually dead by not having that life. Tessa calls them dead bodies, dry bones, because the scriptures also refer to as water. You need water to live. If you don't have it, you die. And our people, they don't have this spiritual water. So what? They're dead men and women walking. The dead bodies lie on the street of the Great Sea, which is called spirit. Once again, it says which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt. Right? It doesn't say how it's literally Sodom and Egypt, but spiritually. Why? Because it embodies these various different characteristics. And Egypt is they really all embody them. But when you go into Egypt, you think of Egypt. What is Egypt? And I'm gonna skim through that really quickly. Exodus 13:13. Well, says the people remember this day, which you came out from Egypt, out of the house of bondage. And Egypt is referred to as a house of bondage, and just paralleling this specifically with America, because when I was reading that little rundown that AI gave, it was very reminiscent of America. With because like with the various I guess you could say insight and intricacies of what actually happened. Because we're given major pivotal plot points, but even in between all those points, there's different individual events that happen. Just like in your daily life, right? You wake up, get dressed, eat breakfast, start up your car, and go to work. Within those different points, there's small little events that happen. Like you may wake up and stub your fucking toe, or you may have taken some vitamins. You brush your teeth. You know what I mean, right? But I'm just gonna go down here. And talks about how the Lord brought us out of Egypt. And like I said, remember now what really brought this up was I was going to do a video on the blackouts and the darkness that was going on, which is why I went to Wisdom Solomon 17. And like I said, brought this on is how with those blackouts, Lord pretty much put Egypt in a motherfucking black hole. But with the hell that the Egyptians are going through, the Lord was the one who brought our people through it. And now you have threats of blackouts and all hell breaking loose. Now, the Lord just hitting America with the same plagues that he hit Egypt, which is, America's Egypt 2.0. But he's hitting America with the same exact fucking plagues, maybe revamped, more modern version, but it's the same exact plagues. The fucking up of the economy, fucking up of the food, low morale of the people, fucking up of the military, fucking, darkness in the form of various different blackouts. It's all the same thing. But with everything that happened, the Lord is the one who brought our people through it. Now, he's not going to bring all of our people through it like he did the first time, but he was at this, he was the one who kept our people safe. And it's the same thing now. So I'm probably going to make a separate video on that. But it mentions how the Lord is the one who brought us out of Egypt. Says here, the text outlines a systematic progression of oppression designed not to just exploit their labor, but to break their spirit and suppress their population growth, which is the exact fucking same thing that happened here in America. Literally, the exact same thing. Now, this is once again, this is how America is likened unto Egypt, house of bondage. America is a house of fucking bondage. You may not be getting your ass beat with whips and motherfucking getting quartered, but mentally you're getting quartered, torn in every fucking direction with all the shit you have to deal with. You're getting your ass kicked in your finances and your money. Working, slave labor jobs, because the vast majority of these jobs are nothing more than brain dead slave fucking labor. And everybody knows it. So why everybody's disenchanted with America now. Because of the harsh oppression. Especially Jake. Jake's been going through this the whole time. Political betrayal of forced labor. I'm going to jump down. That's talking about when you had the new pharaoh that came in that that didn't know who Joseph was, because when he first came in there, Joseph had saved Egypt from famine, and he got Pharaoh's favor, and they were in good terms. But you had another pharaoh that came in that didn't give a fuck about any of that, so that's when everything just went to shit. Psychological and physical brutality. The text emphasizes that the labor was intentionally designed to crush them, which is once again intentionally designed to crush them mentally and physically, which is the exact same things you have going on here in America. For example, the Lynch letter is it's literally a detailed plan to break Jake, buck breaking, turn him into a slave, put the woman up over him. Now you got a bunch of bitch made ass niggas who are listening to their mommy. You also have that thing where it's in well, maybe not so much now, but there was a point where you had people talking about how the fear of slavery can be passed down from generation to generation in your DNA. So you got niggas that are afraid of Esau, just because that fear that's been instilled in their ancestors has been passed down to them in their genes. Once again, the Will Legislator talk about how the effects of slavery was supposed to go on for at least another 300 years. That fear and that submission, once again, breaking our people. The same thing happened in Egypt. Hebrew text use the word, pronounce that to describe how they were made to serve, which translates to rigorously, harshly, or with crushing cruelty. And you have the word crushing, an oppression, once again, to crush our people. So to crush their minds. Only just economic exploitation. It was a deliberate attempt to wear down their bodies and minds. Physical beings by taskmaster or stand tool of enforcement. Once again, is that not familiar? Everything that Jake has went through, it's all been to destroy his mind and to destroy his spirit, which is why you have so many niggas now that cling to all these dumbass doctrines. That cling to Jesus. Why? Because they've had that force onto them. Their spirit was crushed and it was replaced with that shit. Whether it's some Hindu nigga or some Jesus shit, Now I'm gonna go to this. And another thing, draw my pencil. Another thing that mentioned how these things were deliberate. For example, the conditions here, and you literally have, niggas who come up with plans and experiments to see how they could crush somebody, how they could break someone. You got the whole MK Ultra mind control shit that goes into that, with how they can implant false memories, or they can break down who you are and rebuild that person. But Esau has the ability to do this, and that's the same thing will happen on with all of that harsh labor, which is why you had niggas that said this. It says Numbers 11:5. We remember the fish which we did eat in Egypt freely, the cucumbers and melons and the leeks and onions and the garlic. And our soul is right away. There's nothing at all besides manna before our eyes. If I remember correctly, manna it had the ability to taste like whatever you wanted it to, and the Lord had he gave us sustenance. He took care of us when we were in the wilderness. But you had niggas that their mind was on Egypt. They wanted to go back to Egypt. Why? Because once again they were broken. Same thing you have now today. You got niggas that can't let love of the white man go. They can't let America go. Why? Because they don't see anything further, because they're broken. And that's why the Lord killed them niggas. And that's why he's going to do the same again. He's going to kill, because you can't, realistically speaking, the Lord was taking us to a new beginning, a new start, our own land. But these niggas wanted to go back to slavery, even after seeing Egypt getting fucking destroyed. What can you do with a person like that? Are you going to drag them along? No. So Lord took them out. Same thing with niggas like today. America's falling apart all around these niggas, and all they could think about was how they want to stay here, And the Lord, he's ushering us into a new age, something that's infinitely better than what you have now. Yet you have niggas that are saying there's going to be another 1,000 years that calling on Jesus, saying, you're not scoffing ass niggas. Realistically speaking, if what can you do with a nigga like that? That's why the Lord has to kill him. Because like, what are you going to do? Are you going to try to reason with him? Well, if you want to get technical, that's what the Lord has been doing through the prophets the entire time, trying to reason with people, but they don't want to fucking listen. So what's going to happen? He has to kill them. Simple. Daniel 7:25. He shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints in the Most High, and think to change times and laws. He shall give into his hand till time dividing times, goes into the 350 years we were in slavery or hardcore bondage. But main point I want to get is how he shall wear out the saints in the Most High. Going back into a little explanation, it was all intentional. That mental breaking, what you the current nigga that you see now, that's the result of hundreds of years worth of intentional study and work going into figuring out how to break our people. This is one of the, once again, we're given major plot points, but we're not given small intricacies, and these details matter. This is, and the Lord he knows all this. He's seen all this, which is why he talk about how Esau is going to be fucking exterminated, because he didn't come across these things by accident. All of these different surgeries, experimentations done of our people didn't happen just by accident. It was intentional, cruel, and crushing. It wasn't even punishment. It was straight up fucking evil and cruelty. That's not a motherfucking plea for sympathy. Fuck y'all. For all the scoffers. Nobody wants you fucker sympathy. This is just a simple fact. Right? What's something that happened recently? Well, you got the niggas over there and Gaza getting blown up, right? You can say, hey, that we need to help them. They're bad, or they're in a bad condition, they're in a bad shape. How dumb would we sound to you people if we were to say, well, they're victims. They pick themselves up by the bootstraps. To the average nigga, that would sound really fucking stupid, because they're over there literally getting blown up. But to us, you niggas sound fucking stupid. But then again, what's happened to our people was dismissed because it was a few hundred years ago, which in the span of time, a few hundred years isn't that fucking long. That's literally 2 to 3 people, 2 to 3 people away, and literally one. We were maybe 1.5 people lifespans away from getting hung on fucking lampposts. It wasn't that long ago, taking into account the span, long span of time. The decree of infanticide, about that. How, as a way to cull our people and to keep us from growing, he killed, Jake infants, which is what's the way he's doing, what's the way Esau, modern Pharaoh, is doing that now, promoting abortion. Slavery without straw. Moses first approached Pharaoh, demanded people's release. Pharaoh retaliated by making their daily quota even more impossible. And once again, for fun. And all this was done, you had Esau did the same thing with the, I know it was the native tribes, Latin tribes, where they would, cut their hands off or cut limbs off and expect them to meet a quota or raise a quota just to be an asshole. Once again, this is why, America is the worst slave captivity that's ever been, because the things that happened in Egypt and during the transatlantic slave trade, and even before then, because Esau was over, Jake and the southern tribe was brought over here during the transatlantic slave trade, but you had the northern tribes that were getting their asses handed to them left, right, and center. There was so much intentional cruelty that even his own niggas said that this is wrong. I think there was some book where a compatriot of Christopher Columbus mentioned how the things that he saw, or I think it's him himself, or a compatriot of his, the things that he saw was against human. It was crimes against humanity. Crimes against humanity. You know what? Let me do this really quickly. Okay, the term crime against humanity isn't just a general expression. And a lot of people use it for general, like think it's just, it just rolls off of their back, right? For an especially terrible act. An international law is highly specific, strict legal definition. An act doesn't become a crime against humanity simply because it's sexually cruel or gruesome. Said what elevates a brutal act to this category is scale, organization who's being targeted. According to article, and once again, it says organization and all, what organized crime against our people. It was completely organized and intentional. It wasn't by fucking accident. Article 7 of the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court. The crime against humanity must meet a strict legal threshold. Two critical conditions for a crime across this line. Prosecutors must prove two specific contextual elements. Must be widespread or systematic. There you go. Widespread means massive in scale. This entire land was inhabited by Jake. But what happened? Now you see a bunch of heathen Needhamites in here. How did all of those Jake disappear to fucking reservations? They got literally, systematically, organizationally fucking exterminated. And now you have a similar thing in the form of abortion, because abortion kills more people, mainly Jake, than any what's that damn statistic, than any other motherfucking crime. That's the leading killer of Jake children. Systematic. And that was when you go back into that, what's that bitch name, that ugly whore? Damn it, what's that fucker's name? There's that Edomite bitch that called Jake human weeds, but she the whole feminism shit, she instituted that and pushed that onto Jake women. And now you have it all. And from then on, the number of children that's been fucking murdered, through abortion is I'd be willing to bet a good dollar, a good gold fucking note, that it's incalculable. Cannot be a series of random, isolated acts of violence. Systematic means highly organized, follows a regular pattern, or is executed as part of a deliberate, orchestrated plan or policy. It cannot be a series of random, isolated acts of violence. And once again, slavery slavery was a business. A business is organized, and it was a good business. So a good business is even more organized. It was target civilian population. Primary victims must be non-combatants. The attacks must carry out pursuant to or in furtherance of a state organization policy to commit such an attack. Yeah. And I'm guessing this right here goes to specified acts. Conditions above are met. I'll say specific prohibited acts that qualify. These include murder and extermination, enslavement, deportation, forcible transfer, imprisonment, torture, sexual and gender violence, persecution, enforced disappearance, apartheid. All of these things, by the actual legal definition, it was fucking literally crimes against humanity, genocide. I'm saying here, crime against humanity versus a genocide, because they're saying that the two isn't the same. Genocide requires a very narrow, specific intent. The goal must be destroy in whole or in part a national, ethno. But both of these apply to what Esau did to our people, right? But you had a similar thing that happened in Egypt, right? Once again, not to the same fucking degree where they wiped out entire land masses of people, but that's why America's 2.0. This place went above and beyond the call of duty. And this is, once again, these details here are the reason why so-called white man is going to be fucking exterminated. Because, like, a lot of people don't truly understand the intricacies of what he did. You can't just walk away for some shit like that. Now, he may hold himself not guilty, but there's a God in heaven who will. But once again, thinking about Egypt and how America is Egypt 2.0. Once again, 2.0. Egypt on fucking steroids. But with what happened to Egypt when the Lord destroyed Egypt, he was, he provided protection for our people. And it's the same thing now. He destroyed our enemies and got us the fuck out. And the same thing's going to happen now. And all the niggas who wanted to go back fucking died. That's why it's, that's why it's going to be the second Exodus. But pretty much it all made sense. So that fun. Gonna go to this really quickly. I think it's 35, but 35 and 33. So you shall not pollute the land wherein ye are, for blood it defileth the land, and the land cannot be cleansed with blood that is shed therein, but by the blood of him that shed it. So there you go. That's the only way. A recompense must be motherfucking had, no matter what. What does that find say? All praise going on. Jehovah Shema Shabbat Shabbat Dash to answer other positive teacher, Mr. Shalom to the Israel instruction of Great America.